You will also need to refer to page 27 in your student response notebook. Let's look at it. It reads Air Trolley Distance Graph, Part 1. Gather Air Trolley flight data. Number 1, the number of winds on a propeller. For today's purpose, we will be doing 20. You can fill in the blank with 20 winds. An official wind is 1 full revolution of the propellers. So 1 full revolution will be 1 wind. We will need to do 20 to wind up the rubber band. Number 2 says measured flight distances during 5 trials. For this experiment, we will conduct 5 trials. You will fill in trial 1, 2, 3, 4, and 5, and then their distances respectively. Number 3, we will need to calculate the average flight distance, but that can wait until after we've conducted the lab. Part 2 says graph the air trolley flight data. For the purposes of this lab today, I will use 2 student helpers to conduct this lab.
You put the air trolley on the string. Then hold this up. And then you unwind it for 5 meters. Hold it. String's really long. Okay. Then you tape it. You tape it to the chair. Stretch the string out so it's straight. You're going to wind the propeller 20 times. And then you let go. After it has formed, you got to measure the distance. distance measured was 129 centimeters.
The lab that you just viewed will be done in 5 different trials. For the first trial, you observed was 129 centimeters was the distance traveled. For trial number 2, the distance is 210 centimeters traveled. For trial number 3, it is 205 centimeters traveled. For trial number 4, it is 197 centimeters traveled. And for trial number 5, the distance is 177 centimeters traveled. Now that you have the 5 trials filled in, you will need to calculate the average distance. Remember, in order to calculate average distance, you will need to add all 5 trial distances and divide them by 5, and that will give you a distance in centimeters, the average flight distance. After you've done the math computations to get the average flight distance, you will then need to graph the air trolley flight data. The title of this graph will be Air Trolley Distance Graph, and you will complete the rest of the graph. Now that you've created the graph and you titled it Air Trolley Distance and you've graphed your average distance, you will need to fill in the chart so that you can graph the other data points as well. For the number of lines, you can put 10. Another group's average was 1.2 centimeters. The next lines that you could put is 10, and their group average was 36.33 centimeters. The next group. Now that you've created the graph and you titled it Air Trolley Distance and you've graphed your average distance, you will need to fill in the chart so that you can graph the other data points as well. For the number of lines, you can put 10. Another group's average was 1.2 centimeters. The next lines that you could put is 10, and their group average was 36.33 centimeters. The next group had 15 lines, and they came up with a distance of 52.88 centimeters. Group number 4 had 15 lines, and their average distance was 122.6. And then there was another group that had 20 lines, group 5, and for the 20 lines, they came out with the average distance of 140.33. You will need to add these other 5 groups' data points to your graph. This completes the Air Trolley Distance Lab.